Hello everyone. Today I'm here to talk about a subject I've been wanting to talk about for a while, in particular these last couple years, and I thought, you know what, let's just talk about it. So today we're talking about making a transition of kind of going away from a genre, kind of moving away from it, and how I feel about it, things like that. So this is gonna kind of be a chatty video. I don't really have any sort of script with it. It's just mainly me talking to you, much like all my videos are, but those are much more, they have a feel for them. This one is just going to be kind of, let's just talk it out. So I started this channel back in 2012. Actually, it's coming up on its 10-year anniversary. I've been on YouTube for 10 years. Like, I don't know. Either way, I've been making videos that long and I've been reading that long. And in those 10 years, I have noticed a dramatic shift with my reading, especially over the past couple of years. And I wanted to talk about that. So when I started my channel back in 2012, I read predominantly young adult books. Like, that was 95% of my reading, I would say. And now that I am growing up, I started this channel when I was 24 years old. I think it was 23 and I just turned 24 a few months later. And now I'm turning 34 this year. So I've grown a lot. I've grown up, I've had kids, things like that. And my reading has shifted a lot. So basically, I did a little bit of research going back onto my Goodreads, and I looked up how many books I read every single year, and not really going into full statistics because that would take forever, but I really categorized it into how many YA books I read versus adult books I read, because I wanted to share that with you because my reading has changed so much. And honestly, I'm not reading YA a lot anymore, and I'm okay with it. So like I said, in 2012, I was reading like all young adult books. So as you can see, there's a lot of young adult books. In fact, in 2012, I read 74 books total. I read 67 young adult books and 7 adult books. So it was a lot of young adult books, as you can clearly see. Moving on, 2013, I'd say over the past next 3 or 4 years, it kind of stays the same. In 2013, I read 84 books. Again, 67 of those being young adult books, and 17 adult books. That's actually quite a lot for me in that time, but still not even close to the amount of young adult books I read. Moving in 2014, I read only 48 books. This is when I had my first child, Noah, so my reading was not a lot, as you can see the next year as well. So I only read 48 books, 39 of those being young adult books, and 9 of those being adult books. So again, we have kind of the same, I'd say, for the first 5 years of me being on BookTube. It was really anywhere from 5 to 15 books of adult books that I would read. Moving in 2015, again, another really slow reading year for me because, again, I just had my son at the end of 2014. I read 41 books, 29 of those being young adult, and 12 of those being adult. So see, we have kind of a, a shift. The highest number I have so far is 17, so keep that in mind for adult books. In 2016, I read 63 books, with 41 of those being young adult books and 22 of those being adult books. So we're seeing a little tiny bit of a shift here. I'm kind of liking the adult genre a little bit more. So that's just a little bit of a shift where it's a little bit more adult. Moving into 2017, your girl read 103 books. How I did it, I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't even remember what happened in 2017. But I read 103 books. 73 of those were young adult. So the majority of the books I read were young adult still, and 27 of those were adult. So as you can see, the adult is going up the ladder a little bit more and more. We're reading a little bit more. Moving in 2018, I read a lot this year. In fact, I credit 2018 as being my favorite reading year I've ever had. That was the year I discovered Kristen Hanna and Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I just went ham on their books. I found The Nightingale. I found, Evelyn Hugo. I found it was just an amazing reading year for me. Speaking of that, this is when things start to get really equal when it comes to genre. So I read 51. Did I say? I read 109 books that year. So again, a big reading year for me. I read 51 young adult books, and for the first year ever, I read more adult than YA, because this year I read 58 adult books. So we're seeing a shift. In fact, I think this is the last year where I think 2017 was the last year that young adult kind of took the most read genre on my shelf, if that makes sense, at the end of the year. So 2018, when I was turning 30, I don't know if turning 30 made my brain to be time for more adult reads or not, but either way, there you go. 2019, I read 94 books, with 51 of those being young adult books and 43 being adult books. Oh, I lied. Actually, 2019, young adult was the most read genre. So, but it's very, very close. You see 51, 43, very, very close. Then we have 2020, where it really gets out of the water. I read 140 books. I credit that fully to the pandemic. Like, that's when the pandemic started. None of us could go anywhere. I went on a neck alley crazy spree. I read so much because I was home all the time. So I read 140 books. So yeah, either way, out of those 140 books, I only read 37 young adult books and a whopping 103 adult books. So young adult was clearly blown out of the water that year. And then we have last year that literally just happened. I read 89 books, and 19 of those were young adult and 70 of them were adult. So that, I just wanted to write the little stats down because I found that so interesting to see how my reading has shifted over the year. And yeah, I just want to talk about how I'm not really drawn to YA books anymore. When I go on NetGalley or when I do research for my most anticipated upcoming book releases for the spring, summer, stuff like that, I do get drawn to the YA contemporary books, honestly. I see them and I'm like, oh, but then when I either get approved for them on NetGalley or I get them in the mail, I'm not that interested in them. And I don't know, I've kind of grown out of the YA fantasy genre. I'm not really interested in it at all. I used to be, when I first started BookTube in 2014, that is mostly what I read. I read a lot of YA fantasy, mostly dystopian books like Divergent, Hunger Games. Those were really big during that time, but now I am not drawn to them at all. In fact, honestly, I went through my bookshelf the other week because I have one now. It's in my garage, so I've had to downsize. I used to have two really big ones in my office, but now my office is my daughter's room, so I had to move them to the garage. So now I only have one shelf, and it's getting really full. And I was like, I need to look at this. I don't like. Some people like having a crazy full bookshelf. I don't. I like to throw decor in there because that's just me personally. So I went through it and I got rid of, not getting rid of, I didn't throw them away. They're either going to the library or a friend or a thrift store, things like that. But I deshelved or unhauled about, I would say 90% of my YA books, because when I look at them, I'm like, am I going to reread these? Do I really want to keep these? What books do I really want to keep? And the answer to that is no, I really don't want to reread them. And no, I don't really want to keep them. I think my time of reading YA is coming to a close. And that makes sense. I'm turning 34. Of course, you can argue there's no specific age for each genre. Yes, that is true. Sure, YA books are marketed towards young adults. That's great. Your girl's not a young adult anymore. I'm like a middle-aged, oh my gosh. Oh, I don't want to say it. I'm like a middle-aged lady. But I'm not drawn to those stories anymore. I've noticed that over the past couple years, whenever I do read YA contemporary, which is a beloved genre I love. A lot of people have known that for me on BookTube is loving YA contemporary and going to my channel for YA contemporary recommendations. That was kind of my bread. That wasn't my bread and butter, but you get what I'm saying. But when I read them, I was so I couldn't connect with the main character because they were so dramatic about their love story and their life. And I'm like, oh my gosh, get over it. And then I have to remind myself consistently and constantly that they are 16, and I felt the same way when I was 16. But since I'm so far removed from that age now, I'm not closer to it, I'm farther away from it, that it's getting hard for me to connect with it. So it makes me hard to review it because I'm like, here I am telling you how I feel about this character, but I don't know, it's hard to say. There's so many people that are my age that love middle grade books, and I think that's awesome. I'm not drawn to YA anymore, and there's no shame in that. I think for the longest time I was like, oh, I can't do that because that's kind of what my channel started off on is YA books. That's why I joined this channel, to talk about young adult books, and I feel kind of bad for leaving the genre. And that's not to say I'm not going to read any YA books in the future. No, I think I'm still going to read maybe 10 to 15 YA books a year. But I'm just not for example, on my NetGalley shelf right now, there's about 5 YA contemporary books I have approved on there, and they look super cute. But every time I get to like when I'm done with my current read, I'll go see what I need to read next. And I'm like, I'm just not feeling it. And that's exactly how to explain it is I don't not love the genre anymore. I'm just not feeling it. And I'm more drawn to adult reads now, whether they be romance or thrillers or things like that. I say those are my two other read genres that I really, really enjoy and have just really fallen in love with. So I don't know if it's just age that may be the main factor for me because I can connect more to characters now in adult books because I am an adult, or if it's just, I've read so much of the genre. It's hard to say, but I just want to talk about this. I think as we grow older, we kind of grow out of things sometimes. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Sometimes you grow out of styles, fashion, shows, like things like that. Sometimes it's books, and I think that does have to do a lot with age, and as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that now. And I'm just not drawn to YA books anymore. I still will always have love for the genre because it's what got me into reading. Harry Potter. Technically, I guess young adult books or middle grade books, I don't know. But, they were middle grade that kind of transitioned to young adult. But either way, young adult books is where I fell in love with reading, and I will always have that genre in high regard. Like I could see myself if I ever get in a conversation with somebody and they're like, young adult books aren't real books, I'll be like, let's talk about that because you're wrong. Reading is reading no matter what genre it is. But yeah, I just find myself kind of pulling less and less to that. So I want to talk about that because I want to hear from you guys. Have you had the same experience? Are you kind of going away from a genre because of age or just kind of maybe falling out of, like not really gravitating towards it as much? And also in case you come to my channel for a lot of young adult recommendations that they won't be here a lot anymore, and here's the reason why, But yeah, I just want to have a open and honest conversation and to just look at my numbers to see how my reading has changed over the years, because it's been a big drastic change, especially when you hit the year 2020 when I read only 37 young adult books and 103 adult books. That was a big shift. And so I think it's going to kind of continue to go in that direction, and I'm okay with that. I just seem to be gravitating towards adult books a lot, and then when I get a lot of recommendations or questions, it's mostly towards adult books now, so I'm okay with that. And yeah, it was really kind of bittersweet to like unhaul a lot of my young adult books. I still have kept like a shelf full of young adult books, don't get me wrong. I will never get rid of all of them because I love them, but I was like, oh man, I really do love these, but I just won't reread them. And I am very practical when it comes to keeping my books. That's just me personally. Everyone's different. Everyone wants to collect. Some people want to collect all of the books they've ever read. That's awesome. Some people want to like not have any physical books at all and just keep ebooks. That's awesome. Whatever you want to do, you do. But yeah, let's talk about transitions when it comes to genres, and if you're not reading a genre and why, and just things like that. So hopefully you enjoyed this little chatty video of me saying, hey, I'm not really reading a lot of YA books anymore, and it wasn't completely boring, but I just wanted to have a talk down. Not a talk down. I just wanted to have a talk with you about it. But either way, I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, here's to embracing like moving to a different genre and being 100% okay with it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.